We don't you drink me milk.
I feel like I need to make a video like what not to do when
Do the step one, do the opposite of what I do, and you're good to go.
This is pre-red carpet. Let me just mention, this is not the way home. This is en route.
She's so drunk. Melanie Murphy. No more for you, Melanie. It's tipsy talk, not absolutely off our bleeding tits
we
talk.
have to film our video.
And we just did a little bit, not cut. But what are you trying
Continue.
to say? No, I'm nothing. I downed a bunch of wine.
We'd had wine, we'd had Baileys, we'd
Gin and
had
tonic,
gin and tonic,
vodka.
vodka and Coke, cider.
Bummers. I drink so rarely. Really, only when I'm with you.
It actually made me realise that I need to give up alcohol. Okay. Drink the tea. This video is going to be a bit different from my normal videos. I don't want to edit this too much and I don't want it to be really structured. I just want to talk and try and not cry too much. But this is a very emotional subject for me. I know Christmas is a very difficult time for a lot of people, especially when it comes to alcohol issues. And that's why I've decided to do this update right before Christmas. It does happen to line up with me being 6 months sober, so I gave up alcohol 6 months ago and I was going to do a 3-month update, but then I was still very full on in the middle of the adjustment phase, and I think I'm in a better position now to talk honestly about the pros and cons of it. Even just 3 months ago, I think I was still on that high of, oh, I've just given it up and this is so exciting and look what I'm doing, and I felt really strong and independent, and I wasn't really realising how much I was giving up and how much it would affect my life. But there have been so many positive changes as well. I don't want to be putting anyone off making this decision if that's why you're watching this video, and if you're watching because you're just curious, or if you're watching because you also have a problem with alcohol abuse, I hope you'll gain something from this. Like, I want to put out there first, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't think. From everything I've read about alcoholism, I'm pretty sure that my issue is just an alcohol abuse problem, an alcohol problem. There are different levels of alcoholism, but one thing that has never rung true for me is I need alcohol. Like, I depend on alcohol to get through the day, and that's never been true for me, so I would never claim the label alcoholic. I don't mean to generalise, but I live in Ireland, if you can't tell by my accent, where binge drinking is extremely common, and I'll read this off just because I know I'll have people up my ass. The World Health Organization found that Ireland has the second highest rate of binge drinking in the world, and 84% of Irish adults drink. So most of the people around me, most of the people in my life do drink regularly, and I was one of those people. Last year I had my lowest low with alcohol, and that's private. I won't be going into that in this video, but it did spur me on to pursue therapy. Like, I had been to therapy, I'd done cognitive behavioural therapy, but I'd never really delved into my childhood. I discovered a lot of my core beliefs that were formed during childhood that were very much linked to my drinking, why I would drink so much, why I acted the way that I did when I was wasted, when I was hammered, as we say in Ireland. I just have done and said some things that I struggle to even remember this, because it upsets me, because that's not the person I am. What brought me to the point where I felt that I had to give up drink is just the fear of that loss of control. But let's dive in with the shittest things about the last few months for me. A lot of the people that are close to me are lucky enough to be able to drink in moderation. That's what I used to do. I exercised control over how much I would drink because of bad experiences when I was younger. Very common to binge drink as a teen in Ireland. Tell me down below if you feel me, right? Even if you're not Irish like me, but where it's, you know, birthdays, alcohol, hanging out with friends, alcohol, work parties, alcohol, holidays, travel, alcohol. I never realised how much of my social life, my social interactions were built around that. Thankfully, my husband-to-be is not a massive drinker, and like my dad doesn't drink in the house or anything like that. He will tend to go to the pub with his friends and they'll just have a quiet few, having the chats, you know, but I can't for the life of me pinpoint when it happened or why it happened, but basically I just started drinking more regularly and more every time that I would drink. I would be looking forward to it at the end of the day to take the edge off and to feel more relaxed and to cut the stress. Over the past few years I've juggled quite a lot of big projects, you know, keeping this channel on the go, writing books. My first novel actually features an alcoholic granny, and yeah, a lot of you really loved her. In my first book, which is kind of more memoir, like life guide style, I discussed certain things that happened on nights out where I put myself in danger when I was very drunk, things that I agreed to do while drunk that if I was sober I would never have agreed to do, you know, that kind of thing. It's been something that I've talked about in videos, and I've even shared myself drunk in vlogs, embarrassingly, and at the time I thought it was hilarious, but I didn't really realise that I was encouraging binge drinking just by... There was that, and then there was this joke that my friends developed where they'd say, Melanie, are you coming out to the pub? And I'd say, oh yeah, but I'm only going to have one because I have a lot of stuff to do tomorrow. And they'd be like, ha, yeah, of course you are. You're always only going to have one. And then, you know, I would just keep ordering, and then the next day would be lost. But yeah, alcohol was a pillar of my social life, and I've struggled a lot with being in environments where everyone is drinking and I can't, because there's a lot of, oh, why aren't you drinking? Oh, sure, you go on, have one. There's a lot of encouraging. There's pressure from people, even though they're not intending to upset you and they're not being malicious. It's just there's this pressure and a kind of a confrontation that happens regularly, and it happens all the time, you know, because you have all these different acquaintances throughout your life and everyone might not know that you've made this decision, and you know, they'll have memories of you where you used to be drunk. Like I used to be the person who would get so shit-faced that I would smash my face into a cake and then rub the cake all over my body and all in my hair, and I'd find it hilarious and everyone would laugh, and I would do the Irish dancing covered in cake. Like now when I think about it, it's actually so embarrassing, like some of the things that I've done when I've been really, really drunk. A lot of it very stupid, you know, a lot of it just harmless but just really, really embarrassing. There's definitely an adjustment period though when it comes to this social life aspect, where I've had to find new ways to relate to my friends and to kind of spend time with them. Because I do even have other friends who don't drink, but when our group would be together, like we'd all usually spend time together when there's drinking involved, if that makes sense. Now I get way more excited over the idea of like a dinner party or just, I don't know, a sleepover or going to the cinema, going for a walk. Like, been to a few weddings over the past few months, and Jesus, people talk such nonsense after a few drinks. I'd end up leaving early. I'd be sitting there and the usual kind of going around in circles talking gobbledygook stuff that I used to be involved in. When sober, I'd be kind of sitting there observing and just like, I don't want to be here. I want to be cozy at home watching a film or reading a book, you know. There's that awkwardness, but then there's also like this intense fear of missing out. I have fond memories of drunken times with friends and family. Really positive memories. Because it was not all bad when I was drinking. It was not always a destructive force in my life. In terms of my relationships and all that kind of thing anyway. Like it was still affecting my health. It was affecting, I was always hungover, like we'll get into that. But the idea that I'm missing out on like private jokes or just like that I'm not going to experience that day in the same way that everyone else did, that fear has been quite intense, and I do still feel that. Not as bad as it was at the start of the 6 months, but it's still there. I'm not gonna lie. And when people ask, they'll ask like specifically why I'm not drinking, or like what spurred it on, and it's such a personal thing for me that I don't want to discuss with people, and then I kind of feel put on the spot. And because I'm so open online, and I am very open in many ways, I have boundaries. I talked about that in therapy as well. Like, boundaries are important for everyone, but the thing is, everyone's boundaries are different. So when I was telling the therapist about the kind of stuff that I do for work, she was like, wow, how do you feel about how much you share? And the thing is, I know if I'm overstepping my own boundaries, and often I will edit stuff out of videos, or I will not post a tweet, you know, that kind of thing, because I have clearly established boundaries in my mind. But yeah, like, I do not wish to discuss the ins and outs of why I stopped drinking. I get faced with that question a lot, and then it's just kind of being constantly reminded of that. I literally cry like every time I think about the day that sparked it. It was such a bad experience for me, because of what I put other people through, if that makes sense, because of my drinking, and because of my inability to control that, or to foresee how things could have gone given the situation I was in, because it was a very highly charged emotional situation. Anyway, that's the cons out of the way. And we got on to the positives, because there's been so many. And you might be shocked to hear me say, given everything I've just said, that I probably won't go back to drinking ever. I may allow myself 2 occasions a year where I can have 2 glasses of wine, but after my year sober is up, I think I'm good. I'm done. I felt so much physically better a few weeks after I quit drinking, and I was fascinated reading into all this, because even a hardcore alcoholic can detox essentially within a couple of weeks. Like, can get out of their system. It doesn't stay in your body for very long. Build up in the liver and all that is like a different story, but no matter how bad you're feeling, if you give up drinking, you eat well and you exercise, the difference in how you feel and how you experience the world day to day is astronomical. Like, just feeling really light, and all of your senses just being razor sharp, and like, just my thinking was clearer. I was more positive. I was more optimistic. I didn't have that heavy, guilty, shameful, horrible feeling. Alcohol isn't a healthy substance, and people tend to forget about that because it's just so normal to drink. It's as normal to most people as driving a car is. And yeah, in moderation it's fine, and there's some studies to say like small amounts of, you know, wine and stuff can have positive health effects, but binge drinking, like chronic drinking, is downright dangerous. When you drink excessively, your body goes into overdrive. It has to work overtime to process this drug, because it is a drug. It's a legal drug. Your liver has to work really hard to metabolize it. Your brain goes wild just trying to calibrate itself. Your heart and your lungs pump at irregular speeds. You know, you're putting your body into a situation that it's not intended to be in. Your body's not intended to work this way. Ever since I stopped drinking, now my body can use the energy that it was using to process all these toxic chemicals. It can focus its energy in other places, you know, like my mind, and like muscle recovery after the gym. I can work optimally now. Another big pro is that I have less insecurities. I have less problems. Like, I don't think my boyfriend, well, my fiance and we've not even had a single argument since I gave up in 6 months. I think a lot of our issues were coming from my insecurities coming out while drunk, without going into details, you know, and then he'd have to deal with that. I just, and then he'd give that to him to sort out, you know, and that wasn't fair on him. I've just really come to understand that alcohol is a depressant. That's something you hear people say all the time, and it just gets lost. We just forget. We're like, oh well, whatever. Just why it causes so many fucking problems in the world. Like, so many family issues stem from alcohol, and I'm sure a lot of you watching this video can relate to that, you know. Like, hands up if you've ever known someone where you've looked at them and thought, oh, your life would be so much easier if you didn't drink, and everyone around you, their life would just be so much smoother, smooth sailing if you weren't constantly on the sauce. And it's hard seeing that, but at the end of the day, all we have control over is ourselves. We can't control what anyone else does, what happens to us. We can control how we react to things, and I think this is one of the most positive steps I've ever taken in terms of how I've reacted to my own bad behaviour in a scenario. And even a lot of the stupid shit I've tweeted in the past, like certain things I've tweeted and been like, oh God, I've been in the mindset of either being hungover or tipsy. And like looking back, like I've looked at how I've phrased things and been like, God, what was I thinking? Yeah, so drinking isn't always good for your mental health. In small amounts, it can help with stress. I know that for a fact. Like, I know people who are fine, they'll have a couple of glasses of wine and they're like, calm, going to bed. So let's be honest, in excess, alcohol often makes us do things that we then later regret because it inhibits your ability to make decisions. And then there's just loads of guilt, and not drinking means I've just felt like no guilt for months, and that's really, really nice. Now, if I do something wrong going forward, like I'll be able to take ownership for that, or realise like, wow, that's completely on me. When I was drinking, I did blame a lot of the things on the alcohol because it made me stupid. It made me act really differently. This is definitely a rather narcissistic pro, but it has, my skin is better. Let's just say that. Alcohol was making me look older, and it was leaving me quite dehydrated. Alcohol is a diuretic. As you know, I love my skincare and all that, so that's why I'm talking about this. I grew up with acne. I am obsessed with skincare. I don't care what people think about that. It's a passion of mine. You try growing up with people always commenting and staring at your face and then tell me that I shouldn't appreciate having nice skin now, because I do. I am so happy that my skin is nice now. But yeah, without proper hydration, your skin dries out, it becomes less elastic, and yeah, so that's why drinking can age people a lot. Drinking causes tissue inflammation, and there's research that shows it ages your body's cells. So all of the cells in your body, in your organs, everything, they age quicker when you drink. I'm saving money. That's a big one. And I know, like, I wasn't spending hundreds every week on drink, but it adds up. It really does. Like, out for meals, I'd order 1 or 2 glasses of wine. I'd buy, I don't know, probably 3 bottles of wine a week at home. And then also going out, I would have cocktails, I would have spirits, I would have, gin and tonics. And it definitely adds up a lot, especially if you're not on like an enormous wage. If you look at where your spending is going, like say if you're in college, I know when I was in college I was drinking a fair amount, not as much as I was in the last couple of years, but still I could have saved a lot more and been a lot more comfortable with money back then, because I just was living off pennies back in college, and now it's helping me to save up for my wedding, and I'm just being able, I'm able to spend more money on other things that I enjoy, like stuff that actually adds to my life and makes my life better. That is a big one, in that alcohol has freed my time up so much. I have so much more time now to concentrate on things like writing, like the gym. I've seen enormous improvements in my gym going in the past few months. My strength has gone up quicker than it was going up last year, even though I had the newbie gains on my side in the past, but like now I'm actually getting stronger quicker because I'm not having these enormous rest periods after a heavy night of drinking. And it is kind of cool to be able to go on a night out and be on the way home and everyone else is all melody, and I know that I'm not going to be like that the next morning. Like, I will wake up as usual at 7 or 8 in the morning, fresh as a daisy, can get on with my day. I don't have to worry about trying to get in all the greasy food and pop in all the eye drops. I used to wear eye drops before every single video. I know my eyes are a bit red now because I've been an emotional piece of human, but in the past I used to wear eye drops before every YouTube video because my eyes were very regularly red from drinking. Fun fact. Another pro, not that this necessarily matters for me very much because I was at a healthy weight and size and BMI anyway, but just in case there are people who are really struggling with their health in terms of like fat stores and whatnot, I lost a bit of fat, definitely, like kind of quickly as well, and I didn't realise this, that it was because of the alcohol, because I was just wondering like what, like I've not stopped I've not done anything differently. I'm eating the same and same amount anyway, and exercising the same amount. And I had a few people comment about my body, and not in a way of like, oh, you look so much better now, but just kind of commenting on it, just probably checking in with me as well, because I used to have eating disorders. I have struggled definitely with my body in the past, so maybe they were coming at it from a place of concern. But yeah, I then put 2 and 2 together, because it was quite soon after I gave up drinking, and then I looked up about it, and yeah, drink is really high in calories. I never actually realised how many calories were in a glass of wine and how tied to obesity alcohol consumption is. And then also I sleep better. Like, I think it's the Sleep Foundation that said you can't actually enter into a deep sleep cycle if you've got any alcohol in your system, which fascinated me. I never knew that, and I always used to wonder why I was tired a lot during the day, especially in the days leading after like the weekend if I'd been out drinking. And the deep sleep cycle is so important for your health, like your memory. It's important for learning, and I thought it was strange because usually if a few glasses of wine would make me feel sleepy, but the thing is, a drunk person's quality of sleep isn't actually as good. Because you're not getting that deep sleep cycle. So yeah, now I have more benefits from my sleep, and I get a lot more time to work toward my goals. And the social life stuff kind of sucks, but I am replacing that with hobbies and sober fun. And my partner and I always go on these little trips around Ireland exploring, and I ultimately feel a lot better, and I'm really, really happy with the decision. At the end of the day, everyone craves human connection, and I'm quite an anxious, avoidant type of person, like just because of past experiences. Alcohol helped me to avoid self-awareness in a lot of ways, painful emotions. And the thing is, since I sniffed it out, I connect with people better. Like it's a more real, truthful, honest connection. I know drink kind of can free up your inhibitions, and you'll say things that you would never say while sober, but that was never my problem. I will be the first person to dive into a conversation about sex or anything like that while sober. That was never I never needed it for confidence, if you get me. I liked the numbing, fitting in with the group, fitting in with the crowd, not being the odd one out, not being perceived as the party pooper. But I care more about me than what other people think of me. And I think everyone should feel like that. Right, great. I got through that without bawling, crying a river. Cheers to me. See, tea has become my best friend, people. I'd love for you to share your experiences with drink down below. I absolutely love reading your comments under especially videos like this that are about more kind of like serious, juicy, beefy subjects. And feel free to chat amongst yourselves down below, and I'll dive in and reply to comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please share it with someone if you know someone who is struggling with drink. Subscribe if you're new, like if you enjoyed the video, and thanks a million for watching. I'll see you again very soon.